Home sellers are trapped. Who would have thought that high housing prices could be a curse and an actual deterrent for people to list their homes on the market in 2022? So why are home sellers trapped, you might ask? Well, the answer is simple and complicated at the same time. On the one hand, we have record highs. So if you're in a position to actually sell a property right now and cash out, you could potentially make a lot of money. And a lot of people have done that already and have gotten away with it very nicely. However, there is a downside to listing your house right now. The first one, and probably the biggest deterrent for people to sell right now, is if you were to sell your current home, you probably are going to want to buy another home. And home sellers are very aware of just how competitive the housing market is right now because there's so many buyers and just not enough inventory. And it might be great to be on the selling side of a transaction right now, but they know from selling their house or even listing their house on the market and seeing how many offers come in on the first day, that's a pretty good indicator of what you're going to be facing as a buyer. And a lot of people just don't want to go through with that right now, and who could blame them? I mean, even me as a real estate agent, I'm pretty hesitant to take on any buyer clients as of today because I just don't want to deal with that myself, okay? I would rather not make the money, not make the sale, and have the free time to do these type of videos and things like that versus stressing myself out over running around all over town trying to show a million different listings only to get multiple offers turned down. I'm not into that. You don't make any money like that as a real estate agent, and I'd rather just be here making YouTube videos. So what's the next deterrent for selling your home right now? Well, because homes are at record high prices, so are the costs to sell those homes. You're going to pay more in taxes when you sell. You're also going to pay more in real estate commissions. And because of inflation and the supply chain issues, it's also pretty much more expensive than ever to pack all your things into a moving truck and move, even if it's just a local move right down the road, let alone if you're moving to another state or halfway across the country. That can add up and get very expensive very quickly. Just a real quick shot around for you guys. I'm over here in Miami Lakes today at Optimist Park, which is a park right behind Miami Lakes Middle School. They got baseball diamonds over here. I think there's tennis courts and basketball courts all the way over there. And there's a nice little lake behind me, hence Miami Lakes. Another huge deterrent in selling your home right now, high interest rates. Once again, if you plan on selling your home and becoming a buyer after your home is sold, you might be giving up a pretty good deal that you have on your current interest rate on your property you live in now versus selling that property. Sure, you're going to make a profit, but you're going to pay taxes on that profit. You're going to pay real estate commission. You're going to pay a lot of things, moving costs. And then on top of that, you're going to pay a higher interest rate for your next home. So to me, that's a big disadvantage for anybody looking to list their home right now, because this is just like the perfect storm, guys. We have this situation where people are disincentivized to put their home on the market even with record high prices, because you would never think that homes being more expensive than ever would be a bad thing, but it actually is, because most of the time people aren't going to sell and turn around and become a renter. And that brings me right over to my next point. Even if your plan was to sell and then rent for a little while until the market cools off, that's not a good plan anymore either. Why? Because rents have also shot through the roof, just like the cost of homes. So there's really nowhere to run and hide this time around. And it just makes this situation that we're facing so interesting in today's housing market. So then who's in the best position right now to really take advantage of today's hot housing market? Well, in my opinion, the sellers who should really be looking at selling are people who have a lot of equity in their home, so that way when they do sell, they're going to come out ahead quite a bit, and they could even take that money and potentially pay cash for a new house, hopefully somewhere else. And also, if let's say maybe you're looking to sell and then move away from the area that you're in, hopefully into a cheaper area. So like, for example, if you lived here in Miami like me and you sold your property in Miami for top dollar, and then you move somewhere up near, like, let's say Ocala in Central Florida, less desirable, a much cheaper housing market, well, that could be a really good deal for somebody like you who lives in Miami and makes this trade-off, because you could easily pocket enough money to pay cash for a nice house in that area, versus if you were to sell your home here in Miami and then move to a different neighborhood or area of Miami and potentially pay a higher purchase price than what you paid for your previous home, and a potentially higher interest rate as well. So there needs to be some kind of a trade-off that makes sense if you're going to be a seller in today's market, in order to really take advantage of this hot housing market. Another seller who would be in a good position to sell right now is anybody who may be looking to retire or downsize, because let's say you've owned your property for a long time, or you just live in a home that's too big that you don't need anymore, you're an empty nester. Well, you might have a pretty good opportunity on your hands now to sell your large home for record prices, and then take that money and put it into a much smaller property, maybe even a condo or a townhouse, where you really just get as much space as you need and nothing more. And you could potentially pay cash for that property, or put 40 or 50% down and have a very low payment. And that would be really the best way to take advantage of today's housing market if you're a seller. But if you're a seller that's kind of like looking to move up and buy something even more expensive than what you live in right now, I just don't see how that makes sense. And I think that's what's sidelining so many sellers right now, because most time when people want to sell a property, it's because they want to upgrade, not downgrade, right? Usually they want to move to a nicer area, they need more bedrooms and bathrooms, they want more garage space, they want a bigger yard, their family's expanding, something, right? Those things are what usually incentivize people to sell. And in today's market, I just don't see it. There's no incentive for someone like that to list right now. And until prices start to come down, ironically, I don't think we're going to see that many new listings coming to market, because people are going to be facing all the problems I just mentioned in this video. And that's kind of the danger that we're in today's housing market. Now, as always, I want to know what you guys think about selling in today's housing market. Are you interested in selling? Do you own real estate? What are your reservations about selling your property right now? I'm curious to know what your thoughts are, because obviously the community is what makes this channel possible. So I always love reading and responding to your guys' comments. Now, if you've ever heard of buyer's remorse, you could also have seller's remorse in today's market. In fact, I've heard a few people in the comments over the past couple of videos that I made about the housing market, that sometimes people actually regret selling in today's market, the same as buyers regret buying a home that was either too small or didn't have all the features or amenities that they wanted. So a lot of people could end up selling, out of FOMO, hoping to capitalize on today's prices, but then later on just realize, wait a minute, did I make a mistake? My situation was pretty good, and now I just lost that property for good. And it's kind of one of those situations where you don't know what you got until it's gone. And that's something to watch out for. I think most people are probably smart enough to avoid that. If you're only looking at the dollar signs, that could be another deterrent that I want to plant in your mind, just in case you're only thinking about the money and you haven't really thought about anything else. Think about how good you got it right now, and if you would be able to replicate that if you were to move somewhere else, or at least have the same quality of life or standard of living. Now, if you are looking to sell and you're going to become a buyer soon, or maybe you're just a buyer out there and you're wondering if now's a good time to buy, I highly recommend checking out this video right over here. It's all about, should you still be buying a house in 2022? And I have good answers in there for everybody depending on your situation. I'll see you over there.